Comment in the comments below, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll pick a winner in a few weeks. Now, if you're a jailbreaker, this is the device that you will be able to jailbreak because I purchased it a while back and I just never opened it. So this is running an older firmware, which is jailbreakable. So there's that. All right, so I think the format of this is I'm gonna be starting with iPhones, and I'm just gonna talk about all the iPhones that I have in order from oldest to newest. And there's some stories behind some of these devices, which I'll just share with you along the way. So first up, we have the iPhone 3GS. This was actually not my device, and it was given to me as a gift, and there's a massive crack right here. I don't know if you can see that. I'll get some B-roll of it, but there's a big crack in the screen of it, and it's cracked on the bottom, but it still works. I actually only recently got this device. One thing I really like about this is the mute switch. For some reason, I just love the feel of that mute switch. I love the feel of this entire phone just because it has that rounded back. It fits in the palm of your hand very easily, and that's something that we've completely lost with the newer devices. Next is my very first iPhone that I ever owned from Apple, and that was the iPhone 4. So this was basically the phone that started this entire channel. If you go look at my very first video, it was of how to change the font in Vitafont with a jailbroken device on this device right here. Now, I don't know how many videos I did on this, but I had it for a while, and it's kind of the spearhead that broke me into the Apple ecosystem. And as of proof with this video, I have completely and entirely engulfed myself in Apple products, Apple services, and pretty much everything Apple. And this still works too. I think only one device that I have that I'm going to show you actually doesn't work, and I'll tell you why. Well, actually two devices. I'll show you both of those. Now, the iPhone 5 was my next daily driver. So I upgraded from the iPhone 4. I didn't get the iPhone 4S. Back in the day when I had the iPhone 4, I didn't see the huge benefit of getting the 4S just because it was faster. I felt like, you know, if you already had a 4, there's no reason to get a 4S. So I skipped that phone altogether, and I ended up purchasing the iPhone 5. So we got the longer or taller display, which was cool, and we got the nice slate back or the space gray black. This was a really nice phone, and I actually had purchased one exactly like it and had it for, I think, 2 or 3 days, and I dropped like an 80-pound dumbbell on top of it and just completely shattered it. Had to purchase a brand new one. I didn't buy Apple Care or anything like that, and I had to pay the entire replacement fee in order to get another one. But this one served me well. I was able to jailbreak it. I did a lot of content on this device. If you guys have been with me for like, 5 years, you probably saw some content on the iPhone 5. So after the iPhone 5, I ended up purchasing 2 iPhone 5Ss. So this is the silver and the space gray, and this was actually my daily driver. This is the one that I used pretty much the entire time. I didn't use this very much whatsoever other than in the unboxing video, and I think I used it in a few videos, but this pretty much sat on the shelf for most of its life. But this is the one that I used for an entire year, and this was the device that they introduced Touch ID, which was just a ton of fun. I still love Touch ID. I wish Touch ID was on the iPhone 10. I think I'm the minority there, but I'm hoping in the future that Touch ID comes back with Face ID and it's just Touch ID underneath the screen. We'll see if that happens. I don't know. But as you guys know, for the most part, it's mostly just the internals that get an upgrade for the S models of the iPhone. So this has pretty much the exact same footprint and design as the iPhone 5, other than that Touch ID ring that you have right there on both of the devices. Next is an iPhone SE. I think I did an unboxing with this device, and the SE has the dual tone flash. That's actually on the iPhone 5S as well. That I forgot to mention, but yeah, pretty much a spec upgrade and the new color, the rose gold. So next were the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. Now, these were huge design changes from the previous device of the iPhone 5S, and these were massive, massive hits. I remember being really, really stoked about getting both of these devices, and I remember picking up and holding an iPhone 6 Plus in line before I was even able to get into the Apple store. One of the employees had brought them out, and I was holding it, and I was just thinking, this thing is enormous, absolutely enormous. Now, I know there were like Android devices that were around this size at that time, but I never used Android devices. So having an iPhone this big in your hand, and it felt pretty light at the time. So yeah, these were huge devices and ones that probably I was the most pumped about using. And I had a lot of trouble switching between the Plus and the 6. So I actually used both of these as daily drivers. I ended up using the Plus more than I did just the 6. And at one point in time, I had this in my back pocket, literally right when I was about to retire it. It was towards the end of the life cycle and the iPhone 6S was coming out. I had this in my pocket and I bent over and somehow I think my key or something just put a big old dent in there. I was really upset about that. Now keep in mind, this was the device that had the bin gate issues, so you can see that aluminum back there is actually pretty flimsy. But the newer and bigger screen was just massive for everything. Videos, apps. I mean, I remember having to deal with apps not being updated for months after that device came out. It was just such a pain. But if you jailbroke it, you could fix that pretty quick. So for the iPhone 6S, I decided against the space gray or the black version of the device, and I went with the silver and the gold. So this is obviously just the iPhone 6S, and this is the iPhone 6S Plus. And this is one that I liked a lot. It was the first time I ever purchased and wanted to use a daily driver that was white, and it did me well. You know, this is in great condition. I had a case on it the entire time. I don't see any blemishes or anything like that on it. The screen held up really well. But of course, with the S upgrade, these had massive spec bumps in terms of the internals. And it was also the first time they introduced the gold device. So I was really stoked about that. Now next are the iPhone 7s. So this was actually my daily driver. This is the black one, this 256 gig. This was the device when I decided that I was gonna use a smaller device rather than the Plus version of the iPhone. And these, I didn't do much with the rose gold. I think I wanted to do an unboxing with all the colors. So that's why I ended up getting all the colors. This one actually does not work. This is one that was in one of my videos where I deep fried a turkey and I had this device inside the turkey. This is so stupid. It was a ton of fun recording the video. The video didn't get like hardly any views whatsoever, but it was still a lot of fun. I did it with my buddy Rob. And what was really surprising is it cracked and it looked destroyed, and then I powered it and it turned on. It was crazy. Not to mention the turkey looked delicious. But after a while, I got sick of the smaller iPhone 7 and I ended up using the iPhone 7 Plus. So this was my daily driver till I ended up upgrading to the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10. So this was my last daily driver other than my iPhone 10 that I used. And the reason I really like these devices is just because I loved this color, this matte black color that just looked so good. Unfortunately, it doesn't look the same with, you know, on the iPhone 10 or the iPhone 8 just because of the glass backs. So you can't get this look. But on this device, they had the dual lens for the camera here. That was a big upgrade. Now the next one is a custom iPhone. I actually did an entire video on this. This is a completely painted custom retro iPhone 7 Plus, 256 gig. You can see right here, I'll show a close-up of it. It says 4 of 25. So this is from Colorware. If you want to check out the video, I'll put a link in the description below, but this was a pricey device. This was I believe $2,000. So when I first saw it online, I was just like, I have to have this. I think it's amazing. I think it looks really awesome. And I ordered it almost immediately. That's why I ended up getting 4 out of 25. So, and there's more than 25 of these. It was just the first 25 get, you know, this little numbering on the bottom. Now next we have our iPhone 10s. So I have 2 white iPhone 10s and 2 black iPhone 10s. This is the one that I'm going to be giving away. This is also completely brand new. The box was opened. I opened the box, but it's still in its plastic. I just haven't used it yet. Now, the reason that I got 4 of these is because I thought the demand was going to be crazy during Christmas, and I was going to sell 2 of them and keep 2 of them for myself. At the time, I thought it was a good idea to make a little bit of money, and then I thought, you know, this is kind of shady. That's not a cool thing to do. Plus, the demand wasn't there to, you know, demand these really high prices or anything like that. So I ended up with 4 iPhone 10s. Now you're probably asking yourself, where's the iPhone 8s? Well, I had iPhone 8s. I had an iPhone 8 and an 8 Plus, and I ended up selling them because, as you guys know, the iPhone 8 Plus and the 8 came out the same time that the iPhone 10 came out. And as crazy as it sounds, I ended up thinking I didn't need all these phones and decided to sell the 8s. So you guys know with the iPhone 10, you ended up with the notch. This was a completely new thing that nobody liked, and then everybody liked, and then nobody really cared about, and then everybody copied. It was kind of a crazy little thing that happened last year. And this got rid of the home button completely, so it's all glass on the front. and it has Face ID, obviously. You have wireless charging in the back. You have the completely new camera with the True Depth camera where you can do portrait mode pictures and everything. They changed the back of this where you don't have all the text on the back. It just says iPhone. It's just nice, clean, and the white looks really good, but I keep a case on it, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I like about this device, and still some things that I wish I could change. But with the iPhone XS and the new budget iPhone 10, iPhone 10 Plus, all those devices, I think they're gonna be pretty awesome. And of course, I'll be covering those for you guys once I get them. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that. All right, so those were my iPhones. Those were by far the biggest collection of Apple devices that I have, just because, I don't know, man, I like iPhones. So iPads were a little bit weird with me. I never really felt like I needed to upgrade every single year. It just wasn't one of those things. A lot of people feel that way about phones. I'm on my phone so much that I definitely want to upgrade every single year. But iPads just weren't that way. So my very first iPad was this guy, and it was a 16 gig Wi-Fi and cellular 3rd generation iPad. Now this thing was really, really cool. Once I got it, I played with it a ton. I played games on it. I got cool cases for it. It was just kind of like a really big iPhone for me because it was the first iPad that I ever had. I actually called in sick to work to get this device. I hated my job at the time, and I just went up to Best Buy, and I thought I was gonna have to wait in line. They were just like, here, take a number, come back in an hour, and you can come pick up your device. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So I just went to Starbucks, hung out for a while, and then came back and then picked this up. And it was a really good day because I had skipped out on work. I got an iPad, I got some Starbucks. I think there's even a post of this day on my Instagram somewhere. Or actually maybe on my old Instagram, so maybe not my iTweets. But yeah, this is what kind of got me into the whole iPad world. And by today's standards, I mean, this thing is a heavy, thick son of a gun. So, I mean, not only that, but look at these bezels. Can you see those bezels? Those are some big old bezels, man. Some big bezels you got there, bro. All right, so next I ended up purchasing the iPad Air. So this was a couple of years later, and obviously you can see the difference here between the thickness of the two. I'll do some B-roll just so you can see it. But with the iPad Air, you just got a different color. You got the space gray, obviously lighter, thinner, and it has thinner bezels. And it just, it was just a complete overhaul to what I had. So I figured, this would be a cool one to test out. It didn't have Touch ID just yet, but it was more powerful, it was sleeker, it was lighter, and I just thought it would be a fun upgrade to have. Next, I ended up purchasing the iPad Air 2, and this was for a single particular reason that I can't quite place right now. I remember I needed cellular in order to do whatever video I wanted to do on this, but I got the gold version just because it was flashy, looked cool, I thought. And it has Touch ID on it, so that's nice. This was actually my second white iPad. I actually sold my first iPad to my sister. I had a white one and I thought it would look cool with white, and I ended up not liking white because when I was watching like Netflix or whatever in bed, it just had a white bezel and it just didn't look near as good as it does with the black bezel. Now next was this massive behemoth. I mean, this thing was enormous. This is a 12.9 inch iPad Pro, and I got it merely just for its size, and I thought this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be absolutely awesome. Now you can use your Apple Pencil on there. I ended up purchasing well after I purchased this just because it'd be cool to have one of these, if I wanted to draw or, do whatever, play games with this. And I ended up buying one that was refurbished, so I saved like 20 bucks or so. And I'm glad that I have it now. I still use this one, so this one's charged. I actually play Whole.io on this with my Apple Pencil. You will destroy, if you guys play Whole.io, I mean, I'm not telling you to invest, $1,000 into an iPad to play Whole.io. Totally, absolutely, completely not worth it. But if you have an iPad and you have an Apple Pencil and you want to play Whole.io, you just destroy. You have a massive screen, you have a pencil to just destroy people. I digress. I played that game for literally hours one time. I just got like totally hooked into it. I don't think I could lose. I could not lose. It was so much fun because I had a massive advantage. Totally unfair, massive advantage. So yeah, I still use this iPad, I wouldn't say daily, but probably weekly for, you know, one thing or another. It is enormous though, so it's almost too big for some things. So that's why I ended up getting the newer iPad Pro. So this is the other iPad Pro, and I basically bounced between this iPad Pro and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Both of them do everything that I want them to. The only difference is I have a case for the 12.5 or the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, so I end up using that one more just because I feel like, you know, just so I can stand it up and whatnot. But of course the Apple Pencil works on this one too. This one has Touch ID and it still has a headphone jack. Pretty cool. All right, so next, what do we have? Let's talk about MacBooks. And MacBooks, I don't have a ton, so it'll be really quick. So my first MacBook was the MacBook Air. I think this was in 2012 that I purchased this. And this was, this came at a point when I didn't have a job, I was living at home, and I had about $1,500 to my name. That was literally it. And I ended up buying this on eBay for $900 with the intent of learning how to code and going to coding school. And I got it. I learned to code some, kinda, a little bit. And then I applied for a coding school out in California, I think, and had the interview, all this stuff. It was like a live interview where he would basically ask you questions and he could see your screen and you would just basically code whatever he was asking, like, what would you do if this? And then you have to code it out. And I studied for that like crazy, and there was literally a specific portion, and I'm still upset about this, that said you don't need to know how to do so-and-so. I can't even remember what the actual term was. And in the interview, he asked me to do specifically that, what it said you don't have to know how to do. And I tell him, I'm like, it says in the study guide that we don't have to know how to do that. So I omitted it completely so I could work on the other things. And he's like, oh yeah, we change the instructions or the study guide all the time. So just give it a shot, see what you can do. And I'm like, man, I don't know how to do it at all. And I know I killed all the other stuff and I had no idea how to do this specific type of coding. So of course, a few days later, I ended up getting a John Deere letter from this dude at Code Academy or wherever the heck it was saying I didn't make it, which, you know, I'm actually cool with because I turned out all right. I ended up doing, you know, cool stuff anyways, so their loss. I could have done it. Now, not only that, this was the device that I used to edit all of my videos. And if you guys know about MacBook Airs, these are not built to do video editing on. So I had Final Cut Pro on this thing, and man, it was just like a whirlwind every time I spun that thing up. It was just like, woo! I mean, it'd get really, really hot. I had to edit everything on the trackpad because for some reason I didn't buy a mouse that, you know, I didn't have enough money to buy a mouse to go with it. But yeah, I'll probably never get rid of this just because of the nostalgia that's attached to it. And, you know, kind of a reminder to show where the YouTube channel came from and all the hard work that I put into this. And next we have the 12-inch MacBook. Now this was, I love this device, but I also hated it because, I mean, this was the first time that we actually got the 12-inch MacBook, and it had only a single USB port. Single USB port. I bought it knowing that it only had a single USB port, but I had no idea, you know, the type of repercussions that was coming with this purchase. Now don't get me wrong, I really, really enjoyed this MacBook. The issue came in when I needed to plug literally anything in. So if I needed to plug in USB, if I needed to plug in an Ethernet cable, if I needed to plug in an SD card, I needed a dongle for all of that stuff. If I needed to do one of those things and charge the device, then I would have to have a dongle for that. So while I really, really did and still do like this MacBook, I just needed something that was a little bit more powerful, had a little bit more ports. Now, unfortunately, Apple has gone the way of only USB-C at this point, so I'm basically stuck with that and still have to use dongles. But this MacBook was used 100% for work. Not YouTube work, but I also work at a company called Nimbix where we do high-performance computing, and that's what I used this for. This was my daily driver for work. And I actually have a dbrand skin on this and then a slick wrap skin on the back. Actually, I don't know which one's which, but one of them's dbrand and one of them's slick wraps. I don't know how they would feel about that, but I just thought it was funny. I don't think I've literally never told anybody that ever. I don't know, man. But anyways, I retired this one not very long ago, and I upgraded to this guy. So this is the 2017 13.3 inch MacBook Pro, and this is what I use for my daily driver at this point. So the MacBook, the 12-inch MacBook, I use just at home, like when, you know, I want to use a laptop in the house. The only thing that I don't like about this is the difficulty that I have hooking up two monitors with this MacBook. For some reason, it works a lot of the time, but every once in a while, it just won't work, and reboots don't fix it. You know, disconnecting and connecting all the dongles and connectors don't fix it, and it's just annoying. And now I'm blaming the MacBook for that. I'm not 100% sure it's the MacBook, but I'm pretty sure it's the MacBook. But either way, this is my daily driver at this point. So since we're talking about computers, I also have this guy right here. This is the 2017 5K iMac. This one is completely spec'd out too, aside from the, I think, 4TB SSD. I have the 3TB Fusion drive, which is totally worth it to me in terms of price. I think the maxed out storage SSD is just way too expensive, and you save a ton of money with the Fusion drive. But you can see this looks like an iMac Pro. It is not. This was actually due to slick wraps. I just recently put this sticker right here on the bottom, and then I put it here on the base as well. But since I got the space gray slick wraps for the iMac, I ended up purchasing the space gray keyboard that comes with the iMac Pro. As you guys know, they just recently started selling those, well, not recently, it's been several months, in the Apple Store, and I also got the space gray trackpad. So initially you had to purchase the iMac Pro in order to get these, and I just wasn't gonna buy the iMac Pro after doing a whole lot of research on it. Now originally the iMac came with the Magic Mouse 2 and the keyboard, so I have these as well. Really quick, I'll go through my iPhone cases. I have the black battery case from Apple, the white battery case from Apple. I used both of these as daily drivers at one point. The iPhone 10 blue leather case. This is the iPhone 6 or 6S red product leather case, but this was for the iPhone 7 Plus with the matte black back. So this is one that I liked a lot. Now I promise I'm really close to the end, so stick with me here. I have the Apple Watch Series 2. This is one that I use on a daily basis. I wear it every single day. This is the Nike edition. I don't use it for much other than sometimes notifications, but for the most part, I use it for the time. Next, let's talk about iPods, and I have like two. So I have this bad boy right here. This is an 80 gig iPod that was given to me by my sister. I had two iPods before this. One of them busted open like completely, like the front plate came out, and I fixed it at one point and then it stopped working again. I had an iPod Shuffle too for just a little bit, but not very long. I got rid of it. I also have this iPod Touch. Now this was a gold iPod Touch, and you're probably thinking, why does it look like it does? And that's because I cut it in half with a table saw, and I actually recorded it. So if you guys want to check out that video, it was a lot of fun. I was absolutely terrified when I did this, but it turned out really well. The cut was really clean. I was actually pretty happy about how it turned out. But if you guys want to check out that video, I'll put a link in the description. Next are my AirPods that I use on pretty close to daily basis. I want to use it on a daily basis because I use them when I work out, and I'm not working out right now. So once I get back to the gym, hopefully very soon, I'll be wearing these again. But yeah, I love these a lot. And I just got like a really cheap Podskins case that I got from Amazon to put on it, so it's not as slippery. Now I also have a HomePod, which you can actually see right there. I have it back there. I thought about getting another one just so I could use it as stereo sound, but I haven't done it yet. The prices has just dropped. I think they're like $280 now, and I think you can get them on eBay for even cheaper than that, like 250 bucks. I have the Apple TV 4K in my living room, and then I have the previous generation of Apple TV in my bedroom. All right, well, I guess that's pretty much it. I'm looking around here and I don't see anything that I haven't covered. I know I have some cases and stuff that I just couldn't find, but other than that, I mean, these were all the main devices that I have. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I tried to, you know, throw in a little bit of the history of the device that I had with the device. Hopefully that was at least a little bit entertaining. It was actually pretty fun, you know, just going down memory lane with all these devices with you guys. So if you guys stuck around, thank you very much for that. If you guys want to stay up to date, you know, with what's going on with Apple, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Of course, you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to win an iPhone 10, just follow those instructions that I left at the beginning of the video, and I'll announce the winner on Twitter. All right, guys, until next time. Peace.